Hey guys, welcome to my vlog. I just got out of class and I was thinking today about something that kind of interests me, which is back in 2007, 2008, when I started college. A lot of my friends were making YouTube channels and other people were making YouTube channels. And I remember at that time, it was kind of before any like big YouTubers existed. And there was this kind of idea of making a video log that was like really personal. Like the whole idea of like having an audience or like fans or whatever was kind of like not really why people were making vlogs. It was more like a time capsule for themselves to like look back on. And now that I'm starting my own vlog, I'm kind of thinking that like, well, maybe I should just treat it like that. Like I shouldn't worry about who says what or trying to like show off or anything. I should really just treat it as like a time capsule and maybe more of like a personal tool for myself. So anyway, in that sense, I guess I'm kind of taking like a retro approach to starting a vlog. I'm drinking some coffee right now, but I burned the coffee because I had it on a hot plate that was there for like a little too long, and it tastes kind of horrible. So let's see, what were some other things that I was thinking about today? I've been thinking a lot about how TikTok, for example, and other social media platforms, but in particular TikTok, which I've been on for a while, you can only really say so many things on there. Like you can only tell so many kinds of stories through there. And so I've been thinking about telling like other kinds of stories or trying to tell other kinds of stories there. And I've just been like becoming more and more aware of like the limitations of that platform and kind of how people's attention works on it. And maybe that's also an awareness of my own limitations as well, like how well I can kind of perform on there, and maybe also what I want to do. I've been thinking a lot about role-playing games and how basically every creator or every YouTuber or TikToker or whatever is kind of a role player in a sense. Like they kind of play a character, and that character is sort of like defined both by what they want to portray, but also just by how they treat the camera. Like for example, if your camera is closer, then when you watch the video, you'll start to react in different ways and want to like change your behavior in different ways. For example, whenever I record like a whistlegraph video, I have a specific kind of like voice that I do where I'm like, hey guys, it's Jeffrey. And a lot of that voice actually comes out of the fact that my phone is usually so close to my mouth that I can't really speak very loud. And it creates a kind of like intimacy, but that intimacy isn't really something that I have in my real life. Even if I'm like with a partner, like a sexual partner or something, and I'm like whispering to them on the pillow or whatever, like it doesn't sound like the way my TikToks sound. And so it's kind of interesting to me the fact that like people really are a special version of themselves when they are mediated. And there are different versions of the self that are mediated. And different networks and platforms kind of mediate us differently and create different characterizations of ourselves. But I don't really think those characterizations come from us necessarily. I actually think they might come from the tools and stuff that we use. So in other words, the type of camera that you use, your distance from the camera, your relationship to it, the kind of keyboard that you use, really the different kinds of tools that you're using, those to me seem to be the things that actually turn you into a type of character. And so I've been thinking a lot about tools, the importance of different tools that we use, how to choose your tools well, and how to choose quality tools, and how to like define lasting relationships with tools. You know, this is a tool. This is a PlayStation controller, and it's a tool I've used for years. It's an okay tool. You know, it has a battery in it. You can only use it with other things. Here's another tool. This is my pen that I like to use, my whistlegraph pen, as you can see here. And the reason why I like this tool is because I can draw on different things with it. It doesn't need batteries. It can fit in my pocket. It lasts a really long time. I can replace parts of it on my own. And so having a tool like that and having a sustained relationship with a tool like that in today's kind of like computer like device environment or whatever, a tool that I use to produce information every day, that is kind of this analog thing, really makes me feel kind of like differently about like creativity and myself and stuff. And like, I don't really know how to explain it, but like there's a real big difference between like having a pen and like treating it as important and having like an iPhone or a laptop and treating that as important. It changes the way you think. It makes you think in like a different way. If you have to think through something, then your thinking actually changes. And yeah, I think that like I've been running these role-playing games, or starting to run these role-playing games on Twitch and YouTube and sometimes on TikTok Live. And I've been wondering like, why am I not making a video game? Why am I not making a game engine and doing the game? And I actually know how to do that stuff. I know how to program and I can put the energy into doing that. It wouldn't even really be that difficult. But there's something about the fact that like, it's a human that's actually like driving the imaginary experience and it's not being like outsourced to like an algorithm that feels like more alive to me. And like, of course, sometimes like tabletop role-playing games, they kind of feel dead, like they're slow, you have to think of stuff, you roll dice and stuff like that. Like they feel kind of like dead compared to video games. But I feel like the aliveness of video games is really just a trick. And like, especially single player games, like they're basically like these like weird like water fountains that just like spit out polygons in different ways and you have to like navigate them. They're really not very intelligent. And I want like a lot of intelligent interactions, even from single player games, or like narrative experiences. And I feel like honestly the only way to get that is to do it with another person. Have a dungeon master, have someone on the other side of the thing, pulling the strings, responding in different ways. And maybe like AI algorithms or whatever can eventually kind of do this. People have tried to do this sort of like narrative, sort of generative drama stuff before, but it always kind of like fails and spectacularly. Like there was this game in the 90s called Facade. It's gone viral on YouTube before. You're basically going into an apartment and having this conversation with this couple who's like having a breakup. And like Facade is kind of interesting, but only because it's a failure. You know what I mean? The cool thing about role-playing games is that they're so banal, like they're so basic that even just a tiny little bit of it working makes it not a failure. So I like the fact that like with the tabletop role-playing game, you start from the point of failure and then you build up into success. Whereas a lot of video games start with the idea that they're supposed to be successful and they crash horribly into failure. Anyway, that's all for today. Whistlegraph out.